some, lose some, and to develop. Not Negroes in America, absolutely not. When we jumped up talking crazy or talking sanity, the boss man moved on us and pop, just like that, battered us down. We didn't have no time to develop, none. Therefore, we studied this all overseas, all down in South America. We're studying everything that we're involved in. We're studying it to figure out exactly how we're going to do this. And when we get back here and we're in prison, we're talking to everybody, Dar al-Islam, it don't make no difference, all the movements, to find out, of course you already know, but you want to double check on what they did with you, what they did with you, how did it affect the people around you, right? What was the traumatic incidents in your history? Talk to all of them. Because when I was in Leavenworth, we used to run with Dar al-Islam. It can't be but 4 guys, right? We would run with them. I was supposed to be in the nation at that time, but I would run with the Dar because I was moving toward the Sunni type thing. And this is in the 70s. Therefore, because all the Sunnis had joined the Dar al-Islam movement, all the revolutionaries did not join the Nation of Islam. They joined the Dar and other people like that. So I come into Leavenworth and we in building 63, that's receiving. So I'm doing regular fishing up in the nation. So I say, we're gonna have a meeting today and come on down. Sure, we're gonna have a meeting too tomorrow. Come on down. Well, who the hell are y'all? Well, we the Sunnis. Sunnis? Who the hell are Sunnis? Y'all all gruffy looking, and with all the old raggedy beards and looking silly, right? No, that's exactly the mentality, you know, because
the newness.
Huh?
It seems like the newness,
right.
the beginnings of a transition from
right.
one phase to another.
Hey man, so I started hanging around. I started running with the brothers, you know. Well, you know. So I asked the brothers, you know, in the nation we had all special lessons. The better lessons you got, the higher you would be in the know. You would know things other people wouldn't know. So I remember my best friend, I said, now, what's the special lessons that you got to get hold to? You know what he gave me? Sahih Muslim in English and the Quran. I said, well, what other lessons? He said, you don't worry about that. But you know that good set of Sahih Muslim in English with all that wonderful commentary? Man, that's it. He said, I said, y'all ain't got no, you know, like under the table lessons, you know, for the captains and all of that. So that's it right there. Hey man, it was wonderful. And then, the Dar al-Islam movement was there, and Islamic Party. Islamic Party, we used to get, that's how I got so into Maulana Maududi and all that, it was through the Islamic Party. And Maulana Maududi came here in 72. And he got with the Islamic Party in New York, and he put his seal of approval on them. And when they sent people over here for years, the Islamic Circle said, get with the Negroes. That's what Maulana Maududi said. Because remember, in his day, Maulana Maududi was more like a Mujaddid type. So we didn't know nothing about Imam Khomeini. All we had was his writings, and they were revolutionary. But anyway, so this is, thanks to Allah for a long period of development. We can't overstate longevity and a long period of a protracted struggle. Okay, we've had that here. All the stuff that everybody would look at and they would feel sad. Oh man, y'all have to deal with this. That's wonderful. That's what a protracted struggle is. And the most beautiful thing about it is not only what you learn, but you survive. And then you change the whole battle. Psychological guerrilla warfare, that's big. You change it. And then boss man accepts. He accepts that challenge. Hey, why don't we change the battle stuff to psychological? He says, shoot, the white man, what he's thinking? Shoot, I don't run no niggas crazy than anybody in the world. Damn right, bring it on, nigga. That's what they say. And then fainted incapacity is when, you know, like I do it all the time, and I don't know, it might not be working that much anymore. Fainted incapacity. That's like, oh, my back hurt. You know, or you walk in with a cane or anything, and your opponent says, shoot, that nigga got a cane, he can't be, I just knocked the cane out of the way, right? Fainted incapacity. The Negro is brilliant. I'm telling you, the Negro is brilliant when he got time to think. The Negroes didn't have time to think before. This mean old system just busted niggas up and made them sad and mad and ruined their lives. And the ones that he couldn't ruin, he just put them in prison for the people. It's still Black Panthers in the penitentiary now from those days. From those days, can you imagine? And the white man is talking about kindness and mercy. And in the Muslim country, even the dictators, they let, you know, on Eid and all that, they let 500 people go today. You ever hear about boss man letting 500 niggas go? They don't do that. We don't have no days, Christmas and stuff like that, where we're going to let nobody go. If you got a 5 to life, we're going to figure out how much time that is, and that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. And they, you know, the law prescribed. There's no mercy, there's no kindness. I mean, there's none of that in this. So anyway, we know what we're dealing with. So therefore, we have to study the system we're dealing with, the people involved, and we have to study ourselves too. And each encounter is like a new, a step up almost, if you handle it right. After so many decades, you get the system down pretty much, and it's things like, for instance, when this happened, people was coming here saying, I wouldn't take that, and I did. And I told the people in this language, I said, you'll never get nowhere then. You ain't gonna get nowhere. I mean, they wasn't trying to go nowhere. They were sitting around waiting to tell me what they wouldn't take that. And neither would no other Negro take nothing from another Negro. Therefore, they slaughter each other, right? They just kill each other. And they do it with precision. In all our cities, when these Negroes are slaughtering each other, they deadly. They don't slaughter no white man, because other Negroes not putting them in the penitentiary. But they've taught us to do that to each other. And when he come, we do like the Negroes across the street, throw our guns in the bushes. They do that. I stand there and watch it. When the police, now it's civilized over there, semi. But when the Negroes was having it out and do all that stuff, when the police come, the Negroes in the bushes, little old bushes, they throw their guns in the bushes every time. And never, right? Never. You don't hear nobody shooting it out of the police with all them guns. What's going on? Niggas got all them weapons and it ain't no shootout with the police. This is worse than the Old West. You know, them old Westerns, they shot it out with the sheriff all the time. Sheriff come up and try to put them in jail. They either run off in the woods or start shooting. That's what they thought that was the purpose of their gun. You don't even see in Westerns, the crackers come out, okay, I give. Yeah, after emptying his gun and maybe all that stuff, said, well, boss man, he ain't got no more bullets left, so might as well surrender, right? But he ain't got no pocket full of bullets, and both his 6 guns is full of, and he throw his weapon under the bush because the sheriff is there. Right? You don't even see that, especially the Westerns in our days, which was closer to the way they acted in those days. You know, those Westerns from 50 years ago. You know, if the Western was 50 years ago, it was only, Arizona came to state in 1912. So a lot of us, when those movies made in those days, it was still almost like that when the movie was made. Like, when they made Stagecoach in 1936, what do you think of 1936? They still carried rifles on these things down in Arizona and them places. Arizona didn't become a state in 1912. Well, I'll get back to the subject. The subject is, we pulled off a miracle, I'm telling you. So that you'll understand, we'll try to highlight just a few. Okay. We read the ayat the other day dealing with Noah. If you don't like what I'm doing, get yourself together and all of your friends and partners and roll on us and don't give us no break. That means no parole, no anything. So that was the attitude of Noah. Now, we follow the Anbiya, and there's some ayats that we might particularly like from other prophets besides Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we're dealing with the flood, when we're dealing with all those things, Adam or Noah, all those prophets, they might be yelling out to their son, hey, come on, get on this boat. And the son may say, I'm going to climb up here a little mountain. Right? That's what it says. I'll be all right. And the wave took him away. So we know if they're talking about Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot's wife. And there were cities in those days where everybody was funny. That's what all the people said, hey man, girls, you know. Oh, girls. Right, that's what they said. Right. We want them, of course they was angels, we want them pretty boys or them boys. Woo, look at them boys there. You know, they didn't know they'd get struck by lightning or something, messing with the crew. But Noah said, hey, why don't you take my daughters, right? They you know, they ready, they are full grown and everything. You think we want girls just because we boys? Hey, we don't do that stuff. We don't hang with that stuff around here, man. You keep that all, you keep them girls. Who wants a girl just because we boys, right? So anyway, that was there are certain attitudes and certain, when we talk about we follow the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the whole Quran gives examples of other prophets and messengers that we can associate with our struggle. You know, like surely Abraham was an ummah all by himself. Yeah. Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillahi wa lam yakun min al-mushrikeen. Abraham was an ummah. Can you imagine they use the word ummah for one man? It's not normal. In Quranic lore in Arabic, but they use the word ummah for one man. He's the community. This is one of our favorite ideas. That means that we have to be prepared at some time to be like either Noah, right, or Ibrahim. Because they lived at a time when they were the Ummah, right? They carried La ilaha illallah. Only them. Ain't nobody else running around with it, right? They were Ummah all by themselves. That means that they carried a great burden. But of course they get great blessings too. So therefore, when we figure out what we're going to do, we have to organize ourselves in many cases, according to exactly what we're presented with. And in America, we've been presented with failed movements, not because they was wrong or bad, but at that time, they hadn't developed, they didn't have time to go out in the woods like the Chinese and fight against the system, and in the system you kill off half your people and you duck and dodge and build up a little more and go back and forth. We didn't have that opportunity here in America. We lived in big cities and all of that, and when they pushed the button and said, there those niggas are, the police came right away and knocked us over. And then they had all kind of other criminal activities to isolate us, cut us off, and identify us. And all of them were mechanized. And they're showing everybody what the government did. Right? They're showing everybody what the government did. What is it about Fred Hampton? He's always been among our favorites. Then the last week, what's the lady, Lady Day, right? Okay. We got to get out there and tell everybody what they're saying is true about them people. But they've been doing that all along. You got to jump over where they was 50 and 60 and 70 years ago. And we have to prepare the people from now. That's our job. That's why we've been here all along. That's why whatever we put up with, no big deal. So we put up with this. We put up with this because this is our job. We put up with this because it's our responsibility. Right? And we got plenty of stuff to show why we do it. Here's our brothers, the whole line. Suppose you see this, and what would you think? This average person would say, well, they got Imam Jamil, H. Rap Brown. They have killed this man on the ground because of Frankie. What is the dog? Was the dog named Frankie or something? I know. And they lit him up. And they had people come, they had them come over and visit their little thing they had. They might have had computer parts, something dumb like that. I don't do that. Nobody can call me and say, oh, we want you just to move that stolen refrigerator here to there. If you touch it, they'll blow you away. Or as soon as you touch it, the alarm will go off and you got your fingerprints on the refrigerator and they'll come in, they stole the refrigerator, right? We're not lucky. Well, we are lucky. I was fortunate, lucky. People have tried to set us up every day, all the time. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. They physically assaulted us because that's the last straw. Okay, we put up with this stuff so long that Mukhtar went to boss man and told him, I done studied this nigga, I'll get him for you, boss man. That's what he told him. And he feels like the dumbest nigga in the world. Because you can tell the day he went there, what he told him, by the first move he made, right? If you've been watching long enough, soon as the Negro opened his mouth, or step his foot out, you could tell that boss man gave him the credentials to do that. And they can do anything. Here's Mukhtar right here. That's why I say don't worry about what the people do in California. We already have our plan. The plan is the same. We could have moved on this stuff years ago and won the case. We can't lose this stuff because we have the pictures, we have the history. Suppose we go into court, although they stole our bank, you can't take a bank account and give it, so you can't even do that. They did it, we got that covered. But suppose we don't. It makes no difference. Just like we wrote our As-Sabiqun, just like we got all of these. We'll be on the highway. When we talk about sleep on the bridge, that means here's how they lost on everything. It's like one of the brothers used to travel with us sometime. And he asked me, well, what's boss man? I said, oh, it's kind of taking it easy right now. I said, the FBI came by this. He said, maybe they think you're too old now. I said, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Why is it wonderful? Because that's the way they think. After you get a certain age, you quit. You don't quit, you just retire. You don't feel like it anymore. It's exactly the opposite. We was resting on. We are right now fully souped up, fully dressed, fully ready to go. Right now. And what does that mean? That means that all of these things, Masjid al-Islam, there's Mukhtar. This man is so dumb, he got caught with all of this stuff. And they're taking me out of the Masjid. That's wonderful. It's wonderful. Why are they taking us out of the Masjid? Because we have global connections. And they're sad about those connections. But they're sad about the Negro connections. You could see it on their faces. When I go in the visiting room to visit my son, when he was in Folsom, right? And all the brothers, the different brothers, they was coordinating their activity with when I'm coming. And it took them at least 2 hours to figure that out. And after 4 or 5 times, I can't come anymore. It's too late. I could have had one visit with him and that would have did the job. It didn't make no difference.